success, dreams in the making. I grinded for it, seems like an eternity. Now I know what it takes to make it. EYG the label, EYG the brand. EYG the label, and EYG the brand. Just elevate your grind. Exclusive young G's with the city on our back. Grinding through the mud, climb up out the strong. Elevated status on done. EYG the label, EYG the brand.
Just like that.
We
back.
Hey, listen, I feel like it's been a while. It's been a while, fellas. We did a bunch of them because we knew we were gonna be busy. So we did like 2 or 3 of them back to back to back. So we had like 2 weeks off.
Set off because of Father's Day.
Yeah, and we took time off.
Shout out to Jizzle.
Hey, thank you guys. I appreciate that as usual. And all the other fathers out there, man. Hope y'all had a happy Father's Day.
Yes, sir. The only dad at the round table.
Hey, that we know of.
Well, the representative is kind of daddy.
He is the father.
He's the father to the whole county, Lee County, and Russell County.
Whole District 83.
This is true.
Yes. This is true, my friend.
Hey, listen, bro. You got more duties than a lot of daddies, so somebody should have brought you a gift for a show.
I'm pretty sure you got some. You know, I bet, yeah.
What you got?
Yeah. I got some socks, like a whole bunch of those.
Oh, you're a daddy, boy. That's all you gotta say. Socks.
I got some what is it, Boom Sugar Pop, because I like those, and that what is it, Mando, the candy.
Mambo,
something like that. Yeah.
Something though. I know little chewy gooies.
And then I got a suit and some shoes, but I ain't get that for Father's Day. I got that for something else.
Shit, but you got more than me.
I was about to say, boy, God,
what about a
she owed me a gift.
Oh, those you had one in the hole.
Yeah, I had one in the hole. Got some nice and shoes and one of those summer suits with a vest. So I'm ready.
Oh, you ready?
I ain't like Jock though. But I'm ready.
Hey, boy, you see that boy drop with that black on red with the boy. Oh, ain't no red bottles make hats, boy.
That's right.
Hey, listen, bro. You know, like I told our brother Drew, bro. I know 2 speeds, dog. I'm chilling, or it's all out.
Beezy's to the wall.
Shout out
to about your weekend, bro. Talk about your weekend. You was here.
Oh yeah, I was in Opelika. It was a extremely busy weekend. I buried one of my uncles, Uncle Pee Wee, and R.I.P. to him. And then on Saturday we had a retirement dinner for my Aunt Yvonne. She retired, and we celebrated her. We surprised her, you know. I'm glad it's over with, so we can stop lying to her. We done told her like 100 lies.
You know, she probably asked the most questions ever, too.
Oh, man.
Gotta tell her. Look, man, we had a party tonight.
She ain't never been nosy in her life, but
something ain't right.
You get ready to surprise her, but she was asking all the questions. So, yeah, we had that. And then I also buried my great aunt, Gladys Moffitt, on Tuesday. So, yeah, it was extremely busy. You know, shout out to the family, everybody that came through, supported, and sent them off the right way. So yeah, it was busy. I also had I went to 2 events with Representative Gray. I went to the flag football event at Opelika High School that Rashawn Evans' mamas did that, right?
Yeah, Dr. Shanavian Evans. She put it together with the city of Opelika and the Opelika Police Department, trying to merge community and policing, and so they put that together. It was a great event, even though it rained. I think like 200-300 people showed up. They had Tony Brown there, Rashawn Evans, and Corey Grant. So that was a good event.
It was a great event. They also, before we went there, we had the run walk event at the Curtis House. Representative Gray led the way.
Hey, boy, I seen that boy looking like, boy, he got to go to the Olympics that weekend.
Listen, my job was riding the camera lady around. I had to ride the photographer around. I didn't participate in the mile and a half because
more support.
My day would have been over So,
if I had to do that, I would have helped.
Yeah, if I didn't have anything else to do, I would have helped you out, Rep. But it was a full day.
That's cool, brother.
Yeah, and then we went down to Phoenix City for the Phoenix Initiative. Is that correct?
Yeah, Phoenix Initiative. Some millennials started the initiative. One of the mayor's daughter, and she put on a football camp where basically it was like local talent, basically college players, mostly from Clemson, came back into the community and hosted a football camp for about 60 kids, 60, 70 kids in the rain. So with the rain, that still was pretty decent. They got t-shirts and food and all those things. So it was a great time. And then Jock had a reunion.
Hey, I already know.
Yeah, man, I got a chance to see my little brothers, Due to COVID, of course, I couldn't go to no games last year, so I didn't see a lot of them boys for 2 years. And I got a chance to meet one of them for the first time, Joe. He's from Canada originally, and he'll be true sophomore this year.
Yeah, sophomore.
Yeah, and then Ray was there, who's also a safety. And, of course, Justin Ross and EJ, I know them boys because they're from Phoenix City.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was dope, man. I had a good time, playing with the kids, playing in the rain. I don't think I've been in the rain that long since, 2000.
yeah.
Probably since I was playing myself, 09 maybe. If it rained now, it's time to get in the house.
Hey, what's going on out here, man? Get sick, man. Trying to get sick.
So, yeah, I had a good time, man. It was definitely dope. And then I took the representative back. I escorted him back in our Maybach.
Yeah, police escort. Yeah,
police escort. We had a sheriff. We're in Alabama, so we still do it country. We had a sheriff escort us back.
Yeah,
dropped them off at the Curtis house, and you had an event, right?
Oh yeah, block party, a Juneteenth block party. It rained, but luckily we have a big pavilion in the back, so we had a DJ. I'm a vegan, but they had fried catfish, fried chicken, collard greens. Field peas, cornbread, red pop, all those things. So it was a great event. We did a dedication.
Hey, I was thinking about that. What is the soda?
Yeah, that the red soda. I forgot what
it's that's soda. But the soda used to
well, you done went to Ohio on us, go.
Yeah.
They call it, man.
Hey, don't think about 13 cents back in the day. I remember them drink.
That's right.
I was like, what is that?
That strawberry drink.
You had a drink, they had red drinks.
Yeah, right. We did a dedication to my great grandfather because it's his property that I acquired. I acquired the property and turned it into a community center. So, that was a great moment to give back to, somebody I kind of looked up to. He was only around till I was 9, but he was a great man, so we wanted to shout out to, Lottie B. Curtis.
Lottie B. Curtis, man.
And Minnie Kate Curtis. We can't.
Hey, can't
get Minnie Kate.
Hey, definitely can't get her. She gonna let you know.
For sure, man. That's dope. Oh, we forgot the Juneteenth event.
Yeah.
We had the Juneteenth event.
Junity. Yeah.
Yeah, they called it Junity.
Yeah,
so that was dope.
MC. He got
y'all boy had a busy time.
They played Juvenile, Bootsy,
all that. It was live out there, just
yeah.
It was like, but who's out there doing the old school line?
He had told me we were gonna get crazy out there. He already that boy had already told me we were gonna be. See, I knew they were gonna come out and support though.
That's right. Yeah. And we did a march.
Yeah.
For justice. George Floyd, all the things that happened last year. We didn't want to forget that.
Right.
So we marched for that purpose because you never know when it's going to be the next person, right? And so we even seen over this past year, even with a pandemic, you still kind of seen what some of the police brutality that's been happening in America, even with everything going on.
Yeah,
most definitely.
So yeah, it was a busy weekend for.
It sound like it.
For Representative Gray and Brother Jock McKissick. Jizzle James, what you had going?
Man, just grinding, bro. You know, when it's business, y'all boys. But just grinding, bro. Fine tuning, man. Wrapped up the project, man. Getting set, release date set July 2nd. You know, by the time the people see this, it'll already be out, along with a visual, Ferocious Vibe. Shout out to it. So yeah, man, just excited, man. Anxious to, you know, be able to present this to, you know, the fans and, you know, my day one supporters for real, bro. So that's been locked and loaded on that, bro.
Well, congrats, brother.
Yeah,
hey, appreciate y'all, boy, man. Y'all boy know y'all have that motivation, man. Most majority of it, more than likely though, for real, man. So yeah, man.
You know, Jock pull it out in a minute, boy.
Hey, yeah, you know he got doing always got the how did he get that?
Hey, listen, bro. You know, I understand the grind. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's like coming from the world of football, bro, and then us going into our respective fields.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we got to support one another because, you know, we're beating the odds every day. You know what I'm saying? Like we weren't supposed to be doing what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like I was with our partner Tez Doolittle, your cousin, recently. He was talking to a guy, and, you know, he was telling them about me. He was like, "Yeah, we from the same place. We cut from the same cloth." And dude was like, "Oh, he played ball too?" And Ted said, "Yeah, it's like we live in a bonus life right now." He said, "We already lived one life. We played football and we did it at a high level." He said, "We on part 2 of our life now. We're on life number 2." So he's like, "Bro, we blessed." And I was like, "You know what? We have done a lot in our lifetime." You know, so bro, I be supporting, bro, because I know without support and what I do in my industry, then you're a nobody if you have no
nobody,
support,
bro.
You know what I'm saying? So in y'all industries as well, if nobody click and play on the music, what is it worth?
You know what I'm saying? What is it worth?
Nobody going to the polls. You know
what you doing?
what is it worth? So yeah. So speaking of pulling things out, I do have a clip that I'm gonna play for the people. You know what I'm saying? From well, you know what it's from because you know the video. I'll play it and then I'll let you speak on it. So let's pull this up for the people.
There you go.
Really nigga walking, ain't no doubt about it. God amongst men, so we see this shit differently. Holy trap, holy grail, quarter in the wishing well. Made a lot of plays, made a jewel, just like you. Let's go. I started from the bottom, now I came up. I know a lot of niggas, yeah, they really changed up. It broke my heart to see the game change. I knew some niggas who was down, I came up with, they went back down on some other shit. Yeah, slum lord, slum life, yeah, they live that fast life. Minutes.
That's all they can get for now, huh?
That's all you can get. That's a world exclusive now. So
that's a world exclusive.
You know, we can't play the whole video, but man, listen. I love the song. I remember
the visual was crazy, bro.
You sent it. The visual, take it to another level for sure.
Oh yeah, it brought it out. It definitely brought it out. Shout out them boy Orbit Productions, man. They shot that out here in Columbia, South Carolina, man. Shout out to them boys, man. AC and that boy Tank, man. So I definitely appreciate them boys for, you know what I'm saying, locking in with me and shout out Zuvia, man, as I like to call it. But definitely, that's Ferocious Vibes.
You are something else. A Zuvi. That boy be coming up with his own words like Snoop and E40.
Hey, but we shot movies a long time ago, man. We don't elevated the Zoovies now, man.
You don't call it that, bro? What you call it? Ferocious
Vibe.
Ferocious Vibe. Hey, look, bro, we waiting on that one. I'm waiting. Right. You know what I'm saying,
man? Hey, shout out to it, bro. I can't wait to get it to him, man. It definitely will be out, bro. The day the project drops, so it's dropping at July the 2nd as well. So visual coming out that day as well as the you know as the project, man. Hot commodity, man. Third installment of the EP, man. So you know it definitely will be out then as well, man.
Okay, all right. Well, without further ado, we have a special guest in the green room right now. She's back there eating vegan cookies right now.
Drinking alkaline water.
Yeah, drinking alkaline water for sure. That's the only water we drink, you know. So, without further ado, we're gonna bring her to the stage, to the round table, because, especially me living in Los Angeles, it's frowned upon here if you don't have an animal. Like if you don't have a dog here, they're like, you don't have a dog? So, you know, I clearly got to work on getting a dog. But today, we're bringing on a veterinarian. Her name is Dr. Kiona Rogers. And we're going to bring her to the stage. I call her Dr. Beyonce, and you'll see why. Dr. Beyonce!
Thank you.
Hey, thank you for coming to the round table.
How you doing, Queen?
I'm so happy to be here.
Man, listen, it's a blessing to have you here. Not only because of, you know, what you do, you know, your accolades and who you are, but just time. You know, we know it's a sacrifice for you to take the time out to join us. So we appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you guys inviting me on. I really do.
Absolutely.
Wow.
For sure. So tell the people who Kiona Rogers is. Like, where were you born? Where were you raised? Let us hear that backstory.
So my family originally is from Montgomery, Alabama, but my dad went into the military right out of high school, and so I was actually born and raised in Germany. And most of my life, we kind of bounced back and forth, just like any military family, really. But the majority of the time, we were definitely overseas. And then back in 2013, I decided to move back to the U.S. by myself to finish school.
In 2013?
Mm-hmm.
So you finished high school here or college?
I finished college here, but I did basically all my elementary school, high school was within the German school system. So I didn't even go to American school until I came here for college.
How was that transition? Like, were you ahead of the game, or like was it difficult? Like,
behind it, yeah.
So the German school system is definitely tough, but it took some adjusting just because you're coming from a metric system. So, you know, discussing biology and English all of a sudden is different because that's all stuff that I learned in German. So it was a little bit of an adjustment, but it wasn't like a culture shock or that, you know, it took me a long time to get a hang of it. It wasn't like that.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So becoming a veterinarian, was that always a part of the journey? Like that you always want to be a vet, or was it something that was newly found? Yeah.
No, I mean, as a kid, I think a lot of people want to be a vet. And then you learn that there's also things that you're not going to want to do. And I remember being told that you will have to, you know, put your arm up a cow's rear and things like that. And I was like, I don't know if this is for me. But that very quickly changed once I got into school and I got into biology and chemistry, because that's how I really discovered my love for medicine and biology. And then I've always had a love for animals, and then it just naturally just combined. So it was always a thing. And if you talk to my family, they're like, yeah, we always knew that this is what's going to be. But, you know, along the way, you dabble into different interests, but never anything that really sparked my love and interest as much as veterinary medicine did.
Okay. So where did you go to college?
So I transferred into Eastern Kentucky University. It was really just by chance, because when I transferred in, you know, coming with international credits, not every university will accept everything, right? So I had family in the U.S., and so I applied to schools that were close to where I had family. And my uncle at the time lived in Louisville, Kentucky, and so Eastern had a good pre-vet program, and they were the first to transfer my credits, and so that's where I went. And then I went to Auburn for my doctorate.
Now, about a year and a half ago, I probably would have booed you when you said you went to Auburn, but now Representative Gray is
he's also a faculty. Yeah. He's part of the faculty.
So I was raised on Roll Tide, and I always get that every
Roll
time. Yeah, even my own brother and my dad will never let this go. And the only reason I'm still accepted in the family is because Alabama does not have a veterinary program. So I had no choice.
Yeah, you had no choice. It ain't your fault.
And that's why it's not my fault. So I'm still accepted, but now the house is divided. After you drop doctoral money at a university, I'm rooting for Auburn.
Hey, I don't blame you. Listen, so boys and girls, women, children, men, if you want to go to veterinary school and you're an Alabama fan, you're going to be converted. You might as well get ready to go to Auburn University.
Right. Exactly.
Alabama, step your game up.
For real,
right?
Right?
If they have a program, then it's gonna be tough for a lot of people in Alabama, I think, because now we have an excuse, right?
Yeah, exactly. So So you went to veterinary school at Auburn. How long is that? That's after you went to undergrad at Eastern Kentucky, correct?
Exactly. So technically you have 4 years of undergrad, and then you have 4 years of your doctoral program. If you then choose to specialize, you usually have another year of a rotating internship, a residency, which is another 3 to 4 years, depending on what you do.
Good gracious, live.
So, I know. It's basically the exact same time period that an MD would go.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say. It seems like when you add them years up.
You see I'm over counting like the little African boy.
12 years.
Yeah. It's a lot of time.
Man, so that's at least
8 to 10.
11 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's if you make it through on the first try. I have classmates that
14 years for me.
I doubt it. I think you could do it, but I have classmates that applied more than once. So the application process is a whole year of a process. So usually the portal opens in May. When you start applying, it closes in September, and the interviews don't start until February, March. So if you've applied for 2 or 3 rounds, that means you're already 2 or 3 years in, right? Applying, and then you have another 4 years before you're even done with the basic veterinary degree, right? So it's a lot of time commitment for sure.
Definitely loving what you do.
You have to love it. I don't think anybody would go into medicine in general if you don't have a love for it, but definitely not veterinary medicine. I think that passion comes before anything.
So what did that journey look like for you to becoming the doctor? I know you grew up wanting to do it, but along that journey, when we don't want to do it every day, especially when you're going to school every day, you're taking exams,
got cows.
What did that journey look like for you that caused you to end up actually going through with it?
So, early on, back in high school, there's these days where, I'm sure they do it here too, where you have to go for a shadowing day where you shadow a profession and do things that you want to do. And every year that they had those, I always would go to shadow a veterinarian. And I remember the very first time I did it, I ended up in surgery, and we did a knee surgery on a dog. And I spent an hour or 2 in the surgery with that surgeon, and I walked out and I was like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Right then and there, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And it was just so much fun seeing all the work and just, working with the animals, but seeing the results really just, after surgery. And from then on, every year I try to shadow a different veterinarian. And 1 year, they kind of changed up the program, and they're like, you have to give alternatives. You can't just choose one thing you want to do. You have to give them options, and they'll choose for you. And I put veterinarian 3 times, and they're like, you can't do that. It's I don't want to do anything else. And they fought me on this, and I was like, I don't want to do anything else. And so they ended up putting me with a state veterinarian, which was absolutely not what I want to do, right? I definitely want to do medicine. I want to be on the medical floor. I want to be in surgery. I want to be, with the patient. I want to be, elbow deep, basically. Yeah. And a state veterinarian is doing paperwork. They do farm calls. They do inspections for animal cruelty, animal control, those things. And I was like, this is not what I want to do. But it was a really good opportunity to really, not only really strengthen what I wanted to do, but also see the other side of veterinary medicine, that there's so many more things to this profession. And I actually loved what I did that day. We did a lot of, just animal control inspections, just cruelty, making sure that animals are treated well. A lot of those were farm calls, but it was still really interesting to see that part of our job, right? So that kind of started off the journey. And then, from then on, it's really just about getting it there. And that's a really tough journey to go on, because it has a million requirements, not just academic part, but nowadays they want you to have research experience. They want you to have at least anywhere from 3 to 6 recommendation letters. So you have to get really involved in your community and in different projects to really get all of that experience. And then it's very costly to apply. So I only had to apply once, but my application was like close to $1,500, right? So when you're going through school and then, you know, you're working, so you're doing a job, so you have money to pay for these things, but you're also trying to get experience. And a lot of times that experience is unpaid because you're volunteering at shelters, you're volunteering. So you have to be very committed, and you do have to run into the right people because, you know, I feel like it was by the grace of God that I've just ran into the people that could help me along the way, you know, that opened doors. Because coming to the States, my parents never went to college, so and not in the U.S. at that. So they're like, I can't help you. They're like, my dad was like, you on your own. I left with the military, and he's been they're still overseas now. So he's been overseas longer than he was ever here because he left when he was 18. And he was like, I have no clue what you're going through. You will have to figure everything out, from financial aid to housing to, I mean, you have to do it all on your own. And, you know, then I think most people experience this when they go to a college, is that the advisors are really not that helpful. And so it took me the first 2 semesters to really figure out who I need to talk to, who's really helpful. They put me in the wrong classes, and like they put me in pre-nursing classes instead of pre-medical classes. And so it took some growing pains, you know, really finding the right path. And I think that's where some people get frustrated and disconnected from that dream, because it's a lot of work that you have to do, and a lot of hoops you got to jump through. But once I got through all those and I had a clear goal, it was just the application in the end. And you know, you have a lot of doubts when you go through that. But then I realized, you know, once I made it in, it's not about making it in, it's about making it through. And that was even harder. And I always jokingly say that it almost killed me, but it's just, it took a lot of determination to do that, right? Because, you know, you're going to struggle because it's completely new, and it's very overwhelming because it's hard work to be in class from 8 to 5 every day, and then having to study all day and night, and then do it every day.
Do it
right?
again. Do it again.
Exactly.
We know, but from a different perspective.
Right.
Yeah, but I think that's the grind for any dream, right? It just looks different for everybody, and you just have to do it. And there's days that you don't want to do it, right? But there were days that I was there before the janitor, studying before an exam, and then you're still in class for the rest of the day, and then you go home and you do it all again.
You was doing some studying. If you was there before Mr. Oliver.
Yes, sir.
Janitor.
It was Mr. Nate. It was Mr. Nate.
Who
unfortunately,
anytime you know their first name, you've been there.
Yeah. He actually just passed away. He was the sweetest guy, but he was there all day, every day. And I knew, but if I get there before him, then it's serious. Because I needed any time I could get, really. Because, I mean, eventually your body will catch up to you. And eventually you are tired and you are worn down. And then you got to buckle down even harder because you're going to make every excuse not to do it.
Facts.
Absolutely.
Oh, I think you're a motivational speaker too.
Yeah, what you sound like.
Hey. I'm on the other side now. It's easy to talk now.
Hey, listen, bro. I was definitely gonna say that at the end for sure.
Yeah.
Because you inspired me. You know what I'm saying? And we all, I think we all in this together. But you know, hey, listen, for sure. And I'm glad you elaborated on the process the way that you did, because a lot of times people who may not go to college, you know, they overlook the amount of work that it takes for someone that's chasing a dream in college or anything from that matter, that they don't understand. When you break it down like you did, I think they kind of know football players because they know about the workouts and the training and school. But from that perspective of, you know, going to school to be a vet, it's like, man, you might as well have been on football scholarship.
Right.
And
you was in there with Mr. Nate.
Yeah.
I was. And, you know, it's even harder when you have nobody to show you the way. Because, you know, a lot of times we have dreams that we know nobody that's doing this, right? So I have no veterinarian in my family. I don't even know a veterinarian close enough to, I do now, but back then as a kid, I didn't know a veterinarian close enough to just call them up and be like, so how did you do this? And so I think it's even harder because one, the people that want to support you have no idea how to support you. And you yourself have to make every mile, right? You got to break down each wall. And sometimes you have no idea how to do that. And so, your journey might be a little longer. Like for me, coming from with international credits, it took me longer because not everything got transferred, right? So I got there a little later than I expected, but I didn't let that deter me. But I know other people would be like, I ain't doing this again. Going through these classes again, taking chemistry for the 4th time or whatever it is. So it is hard. It really is. And I think that's in any job, any dream. But I think the hardest part is that nobody tells you that. You got to figure it out on your own somehow. And everybody waits for somebody to tell you this is the road. But that might not ever come.
Shout out to the marathon.
Definitely the marathon.
TMC, TMC, the marathon teams. But yeah, man, God bless the ones that travel the roads and never travel.
Exactly.
We all are living their life. I'm an actor, grew up in Opelika, Alabama. My dream was, they tried to shoot my when I got to college. I went in and go meet with my student advisor, and they had us going in by like groups of 5s, I think. And I was like, nah, I want to go in by myself because I didn't want nobody to know. So I went in by myself, and he was like, what do you want to major in? I was like, theater. He was like, nah, you can't do that, buddy. Most of their stuff is in PM. It's going to interfere with football practice. I was like, well, I wanted to major in theater. He was like, well, you got to choose something else. What are you going to choose? I was like, nothing. I won't do nothing else. So my first year, I didn't have a major. And then I ended up doing communications, which helped me out even more, for my acting career.
Yeah.
Everything is ordained. It's already, most of the stuff is written. We just got to go through with the actions, and make it happen. So, your journey was meant to be the way it was, and to get to you, get you to where you are now. Too. Yeah. So, man, listen, thank you for motivating us.
Yeah, you did get this motivation real quick too on that one, on that too.
Yeah, for sure.
Came across the water by yourself, like that's
bro, that's a different kind of dedication.
It's hard enough to go to school by yourself from the States and don't know nobody, but you came across like on a whole nother plane. Like that's the respect. And then because I know a lot of times like people who go, down the street or to a school, in the States, they'll, I ain't like this, I'm going home next semester, but you stuck it out, you know what I'm saying? I know it got lonely, tiring, hard.
It does.
Yeah, so that's dope, man. Like respect for that.
For sure. So you made it to be a vet, right? Oh, and I see your name. I see your is this just Instagram or Twitter or
that's my Instagram handle, yeah.
And how do you pronounce the last word?
It's
it veterinarian?
Yeah.
That's French.
Little wee wee.
Oh, you bullshit.
Josh, she know about 7 languages. She know.
Hey.
Oh, I'm not fluent. I'm actually currently trying to learn French, but yes, bougie, yes, I can admit to that.
At least she's honest.
Hey, I can't deny it because everybody that knows me, they're gonna shake their head if I'm like, oh no. I mean, definitely was raised very humble, but I like nice things, so I can't deny that.
Hey, you deserve. You don't work hard. Hey, shoot.
Exactly though. But I will put in the work though. I will work for anything that I have. So. Yeah,
and then plus you're a good friend of Representative Gray's, and he's bougie, so yeah, it makes sense.
Go hand in hand.
I'm not bougie, brother.
They say, ain't gonna do that. You ain't gonna hit me like that
it makes sense,
Bro, I come from the slum, bro. I can't be bougie.
You can. Yeah, you can grow to be bougie, buddy, because you've managed to do it.
So you eat with the sticky up, huh?
With the BMW in the driveway. Okay, so tell us what the everyday life of a vet is. Is it veterinarian? Like everybody's a veterinarian that covers the board? I want to be politically correct.
Well, yeah. I mean, when we graduate, we're all veterinarians, and we're basically licensed to practice on all animals. But then you can specialize, just like in any human medical field. I mean, we have dermatologists, we have surgeons, we have cardiologists, we have. We have everything. But me, I chose to go into general practice, so I didn't specialize because I wanted to see it all. I wanted to do a little bit of everything. And I just didn't want to, spend more time in the classroom. I really was ready to get into the thick of things on the clinic floor. And so I think this was definitely the right choice for me. But yeah, we all are veterinarians and, licensed to practice medicine. But most people then choose kind of a niche. So I went into small animal medicine, but I could have also chosen to go into, farm animal medicine or exotics or whichever.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So what does an everyday shift look like for you?
Right.
So, I get to work and I usually already have a stack of, lab work and paperwork in basically my mailbox, which is usually, stuff from the day before. But then, at least in our hospital, we have multiple doctors. We're a multiple doctor practice. And so by the time I get there, we already have appointments that are there. And then we also have what we call drop-offs. Those are basically patients that got dropped off. The owner can't wait. So they're basically hanging out with us for the day, and those are basically work-in appointments. So you go see appointments back to back. And then, if you're lucky enough, you get a few emergency that comes in between to kind of, change the day. But usually it's a mix of all those things, seeing appointments. And depending on the appointment, as veterinarians, we're kind of all doctors in one, right? So if I have a patient that needs radiographs, we take radiographs and I read them. I don't send them to a radiologist. I read them. If I need to do some microscope slides of certain things, I will make the slides, my nurses will make the slide and I will read the slides. If I have to do an ultrasound or those things, we do all those things. So a veterinarian will do everything themselves, basically, throughout the day. If you're scheduled for surgery, then you usually do your, pre-surgical exams, and then you go into surgery because we're also surgeons, so we do our own surgery. So, throughout the day, it just depends on kind of what your schedule is. But mostly we see patients healthy and sick. Because some come for their normal annual visits and checkups, and some come because they're sick or to manage certain diseases. Because we have veterinarians and veterinary medicine is so advanced, we have now a lot of patients, like in human medicine, that get managed for diabetes or hyperthyroidism, long-term chronic diseases, and those take also check-ins and those things. So throughout my mornings and my day, I see patient after patient. And then I have to do other things in between, like reading lab work, calling owners back, discussing plans, calling other specialists for consults, or to refer things, right? If I have an emergency that comes in and we kind of exhausted everything that we can do and I want to refer them, then I have to call another specialist and be like, hey, I'm sending so-and-so over for you guys to take over, basically. So it's a lot of, different things that you do throughout the day. It's a lot of fun.
Sounds so exciting.
But it's kind of like you got to be on your game at all times, because it kind of, any moment you can have emergency come in and then you have to drop everything that you're doing and attend to that, right? So it's no different than in a human hospital. What's a little bit different is that, we are the role of multiple people in one. And so, I can't be like, oh, I'm going to send you to internal medicine down the hall. Yeah. Like, that's still me. So, I'm very fortunate that I'm in a big practice and we have multiple doctors. And the beauty of that is that we collaborate a lot. So I'm learning from a lot of different veterinarians that have been from all different schools. We have UGA grads, LSU grads, Florida grads, other Auburn grads. And so everybody, works together. When we have radiographs that we're not sure, everybody collaborates. Everybody's like, what do you think this is? So that has been, I think, a lot of fun to be working in such a big practice. But our day to day really changes up every day depending what it is. Yeah, okay. You never know what you're going to walk into that day.
I can believe it. Sound like it.
So hours wise, what are you looking at every day?
So I work 9 to 7. Are my normal days, but I usually don't leave before 8:30 most days. Because and I think that's in medicine in general, and that's still kind of getting lucky if you're only there an hour longer. Right. Because medicine doesn't stop, right? Just because it hits 7 p.m. doesn't mean
you can't. Oh my! Yeah,
you're done. Right? If you're in surgery or if you're in the middle of diagnosing something, then you don't stop, right? You got to at least finish it to a point where you can either pick it up tomorrow or where you refer them to an overnight facility, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you just can't stop. And then when my patients are out the door, then I also still have to do all of my paperwork, right? So medical records, a lot of what I do in the evening is call owners and let them know, hey, your lab work came back. This is what it looks like. This is what we need to do next. Discussing further treatment plans, those things. Because a lot of times during the day, you don't get to that because you're seeing patient after patient after patient. You don't have time to sit down and go through that paperwork. And so a lot of times you do that in the evening to catch up. But because we're open late, there's also only so late that you are comfortable calling people, right? I'm not going to call you up at 9 o'clock to discuss, Yeah, so it's just not respectful. I wasn't raised that way. So, then you push it to the next day and you're like, maybe I'll get that a little earlier and we'll do it then. So it's just a lot of stuff that you have to do besides just, seeing your patient.
Okay. So this is a question for me, maybe. Not right now, maybe in a couple years. If I'm going to buy a dog.
Yes, but you should.
Own it. Yeah, I get beat up about it all the time.
Much as you travel, bro, I don't know, bro.
That man, if I had a dog, they would come lock me up.
Yeah, you would be a good owner, bro. You gotta get a little bit more settled.
Okay, I'm buying a dog.
Yes.
Owning a dog 101. Like, what should I know? Like, what are some important things that I should know and I should do with my new dog?
So even before you get the dog, something that I think a lot of people should do is really research the breed you're getting. That's a little harder when you're getting a mutt from a shelter, of course, but if you're really set on a certain breed, which a lot of people are, I think the biggest mistake that people make is not researching that breed and really figuring out, is that the breed for me or is that the lifestyle for me? And I say that because a lot of times we do see the aftermath of that. Because if you get a certain breed and they're really a high energy, high strung breed that needs a lot of activity and a lot of mental stimulation, but you cannot provide that, you're going to run into a dog that's miserable, and you're going to be miserable because that dog is going to, either have behavior issues or tear up your place because they're bored all day long. So I think before even getting a dog, we need to do some homework on what kind of dog do I want. And what is that lifestyle supposed to look like, right? So I feel like that is kind of the first step that a lot of people are missing. And unfortunately, on the flip side, we then see that these dogs are coming in with behavior issues, or the owners are going to surrender them because of, it's not working out because it doesn't fit their lifestyle. Yeah, and that's really sad because, I think a lot of people don't think about it that way, but it's kind of the same thing if you think of kids going from foster home to foster home. We see it in dogs all the time too. If they go from one family to the other, it takes a lot of stress on them. And, when they finally make it to a family, that family has to then work through a lot of behavior things, even if that's just training, but some already come with anxiety. Some, are very not trusting because, they're just getting pushed from one thing to the next. So doing that homework is important. And then once you have a dog, training is everything. It's like having a kid. And if you don't raise your child, then, you're going to have troubles when they're older and they're an adult, right? So it's the same with a dog. If you want a dog to be obedient and to be a certain way when you want to take them around public places, then you need to put in that work initially when they're a puppy, right? So, a puppy doesn't, or a dog doesn't necessarily know inherently that, I need to follow rules and those things. Some breeds are better than others in terms of listening. Sometimes we do see that. Some are more, they pick up on things faster, but you really have to teach them what you want them to know. And unfortunately, that's also a big thing why dogs get surrendered, because people are just like, they're fed up. They're like, I can't deal with this dog, being mouthy, or, I don't trust him around my kids and those things. And it's a lot of work. So I think that's where we're failing the most. But I will say, just because you work doesn't mean you can't have a dog. And I say that because that would mean nobody really can have a dog, right? So you just have to be willing to, just like with anything in your life, to make certain arrangements. So like, I have a big dog, and if I leave town, then I know I need to either have, friends or family members willing to take him in, or I need to, make sure I have a boarding reservation where he can stay for a few days, right? So I need to just the way I, book my flight, I have to make sure I have those reservations down, right? If I'm thinking about budgeting, I have to budget in his food and, all that stuff. So it just takes kind of planning what you would do anyway in real life with anything. But I think a lot of people don't think of your pet in those terms, right? And so I think that's one of the things that we just have to change the narrative a little bit and get people to kind of shift their thinking of that a pet is not an accessory. It's not something, it's a luxury to have an animal. It's a living, breathing, feeling thing. And so if you take on that responsibility, then you have to be all the way in and willing to do it right.
A living, breathing, feeling thing.
Talk about the food, because, growing up, well, I grew up,
throw dog everything, right?
They would throw the dog scraps, right? They would just
fish bone,
whatever we left over, they would give the dog, right? And so kind of talk about how you basically give dog the nutrition it needs to, to actually be a great dog and live a long time.
Yeah, so I think, VetMed in general, I think there's currently a big push in making nutrition a big part of our health in general, because we see it on the human side, right? Your nutrition is going to be a big part of how healthy you're going to be. It's going to determine a lot of your comorbidities. So, the diseases that you could end up with. And the same thing is in animal medicine, the same way. And I grew up the same way. The dog would get a lot of scraps, right? Especially our outside dogs, right? They guard the house and they're intended to, live on the farm or outside. And so, what they're fed is not given that much thought. But now over the time we have learned that, a lot of things are toxic for one. So they can shorten their lifespan or kill them right away. But also their nutritional needs, if that's, certain minerals or vitamins, really different from one animal to the other. Some things that a cat absolutely needs, a dog doesn't, and vice versa, right? So the nutritional components in and of itself, we've now with research discovered are really tailored for each species. And unfortunately, nowadays with a lot of marketing and stuff, we're seeing that a lot of weird things are marketed to our animals. And it's really kind of targeted towards the owner, right? For example, around Thanksgiving time, you can find like pumpkin spice dog treats. I mean, you will not find a dog that will tell you or show you that they want pumpkin spice treats, but it's made for the owners, right? Because they're like, oh, I'm having a pumpkin spice latte, so I want my dog to have a pumpkin spice, whatever. And so it's these fads that we see are taking over a lot. And personally, I feel like we need an entity to step in, the FDA or somebody, to regulate this a little bit, because we're seeing that things are happening that are not necessarily in the best interest of those animals. And I think we've talked about it before, where, I explained to Jeremy that in VetMed right now, we're seeing a lot of dogs being fed grain-free diets or raw food diets. And it's really trendy, right? And people are going on barricades and they're completely against, veterinary formalized diets, because there's so many, byproducts in there and whatnot. But, we need to feed a dog like a wolf, raw diet. And they're not thinking about, one, that we've domesticated animals, and a little Shih Tzu is not a wolf in the wild, for one. And secondly, feeding a dog a raw food diet comes also with its risk, right? If you're feeding a dog raw salmonella, and then you have him licking, whatever neighbor's face, I mean, there are certain things that we just, it's not as easy to just be like, oh yeah, just feed raw. It comes with a lot of education and risk as it too, right? So we're trying a lot to educate owners, but the problem is that kind of everybody's chiming in. If you go into a pet food store, what terrified me is that I saw they had T-shirts on, the sales representatives that said, ask me about your pet's nutrition. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Because, for me, it's scary, because it's like, while I'm sure they're getting trained on the foods that they have there, they're not nutritionists. And so, we're having people make huge decisions in what they're feeding their animals on an opinion on marketing.
Right.
And then, personally, I love research. And so, when I recommend foods, I always tell owners, these are the companies I trust because they put research behind their food, because you can call them up.
Tell the people.
For example, Royal Canin, Purina, IAMS, Hill Science Diet are the big four. And a lot of people are like, we don't love them because it's big process companies, but we as veterinarians like them because they put a lot of research behind their food. They are the reason why we now know what we know about nutrition and animal medicine.
One more time for the people in the back.
They are the reason why we know what we know, why we are so advanced in veterinary medicine in terms of nutrition, is because those companies put the research into it. They research why certain nutrients are important. They research which formulations are the best for certain disease processes. They are the reason why we can offer these wide range of diets for our diabetic patients or our obese patients that we have a lot of. And without them, we wouldn't even be as advanced as we are. And if you would now pick up the phone and call Royal Canin, they will put you on the phone with a veterinary nutritionist, and you can ask them specific questions about that diet and tailored recommendations. You can't do that with any boutique diet. You will get customer service, but they will not be able to tell you anything about what's in that food. And quite frankly, it's really scary. Some of these newer, diets that are out there, like the ones that have like ordering services and stuff where you get it delivered to your door. Mm-hmm. Some of them don't even have ingredients listed, or even, some regulatory bodies that, a lot of the bigger companies use to really kind of tailor their guidelines of what is in food. They don't have those. It's very murky waters because nobody's regulating it and everybody's kind of doing what they want to do. And on our side, when owners are like, so is this good? I can tell them I'm not sure because they're not disclosing everything that's in it. So I wouldn't trust it. It doesn't mean that it's bad, but I would trust somebody that, one, discloses everything that's in there, two, puts a lot of research behind things, right? So, but that's also coming from a medical professional. I look at it with science, right? Mm-hmm. Right. Science is what we believe in. And so when that's not backed up with that, I'm always going to question, like, so, what's there to back up what you're saying?
All right, guys. So y'all heard it here from the vet.
Right.
So if you don't got one of those four in the kitchen for your dog,
you're doing justice.
They're not necessarily absolutely perfect. Beyond that, what I also tell my own clients is that, most importantly is that they'll eat it. There's no reason in buying food when they don't eat it, right? And they have to tolerate it. So it has to be good for their bodies. So those things are more important than what brand. And it has to fit your budget. There's no point in me telling you buy this, but you can't afford it, right? Mm-hmm. So, we have to work within our means and do what's right for this animal, but I wouldn't just follow any fad out there. And right now there's a lot of them out there. We have a lot of clients that are like, but it's expensive. I pay $80 for this bag. And I'm like, that doesn't mean it's great.
Right.
That doesn't, I'm not impressed by that. The price tag will not tell me anything, but they think the higher the price, the better the value, and it's just not the case.
Superficial things. Could you speak on like the obesity though? Like how you said, like how people have the dogs like obese. Like how is a way to tell or something like that for somebody?
So it's hard to explain that just over video. But your veterinarian will always be helpful in terms of, just discussing things to look for. We just look at what we call their body condition, meaning, we look at the coverage of the fat on their ribs, kind of on their sides. We look at, do they have a little bit of a tummy tuck? So the curvature of their bodies and kind of their overall composition, right? When I see a dog, when I see a dog walk past me, I automatically look at it. Like I'm just like,
overweight.
And what we see in general is that most pets nowadays are overweight, and a lot of them are obese, which is also driving within animal medicine, not just obesity, but diabetes, all those other diseases. They have a lot of joint and mobility issues with age. And so we're trying to educate a lot on, feeding, because everybody grew up where the dog just gets table scraps. A lot of people, feed their dogs table food and things like that. So we're trying to, move away from that, offer alternatives. Like my dog gets fruit and veggies too, but he's not going to get actual human food, but can he have apple slices? Absolutely. Can he have cucumber? Yeah, great. Those are great treats because they're low calorie, right? And they're healthy. So, we're trying to really educate on nutrition in general, but also on obesity, because a lot of people, their mindset when they see a dog that's overweight, for them, that's normal weight. And we look at it and we're like, that's not normal. Like, or even just a cat. A lot of owners want their cats to be like chunky and heavy, and we're like, that's not healthy. It looks cute, but it's not healthy. So, and then it's a lot of process to get that weight back off. So we do see it across the board, just like in humans too. Unfortunately, that everybody's kind of leaning towards being heavy. And that we have to work really hard on educate them on how to recognize it and what to do about it.
Good. What are ways that people can exercise with their dog or their animal, in general?
Yeah. So a big thing is, for dogs specifically, take them on walks, right? It's similar to humans, what we eat and how much we exercise will determine kind of our weight. And the same as in dogs. So, getting them out and active is going to be important. If that's just, extending our walk time a little bit longer or having some, play time outside, but getting them active. Of course, that's easier said for our outdoor dogs or dogs that go outside. But like if you have indoor pets like a cat, for them, it's most important to have environmental enrichment, meaning having, playthings where they can climb and play and are active and they're not just asleep all day. Right. But, they're not just sleeping and eating, but they, so a lot of times we try to get them active by either, having playtime integrated into their feeding. So now they have to chase something for them to get a treat. Kind of getting that hunting drive back, because the reality is that we're very far removed from our domestic, from our traditional animals to like the domesticated ones now. Like most cats don't have to hunt for their food anymore, but they are excellent predators. They're just incredible hunters, right? So getting some of that drive back, getting them active, is a way to get some of that weight off. But it looks a little bit different for each animal, right? But at home, for us owners, it's important to, just get them active. And it takes commitment on your part, right? Because when it's raining or storming, you don't want to go on that longer walk every evening, right? Or when your day is stressful and you've had a long day, you're like, let's make it quick.
Right. So, use the bathroom, coming out.
Exactly. And those days happen, right? Because life happens. But, we just have to remind ourselves that they rely heavily, their life depends on us. We control just about anything. And so in vet med, if you are if your pet is overweight, that's on you 90% of the time. There are other things, there are diseases that can cause you to be overweight, but most of the time it's owners.
Okay. Well, you dropping gems.
I said gems.
You was out here dropping them pet gems on us.
Another universe, bro. We don't even know what's going on.
I mean, and this is very, basic, superficial. I mean, you can go in a lot of details with this. I mean, as veterinarians, I can sit down and calculate exactly the energy requirement for a dog and what to feed and how much and all. You can do that.
Because the amount of exercise and everything, it varies by breed, correct?
It does, yeah.
Man, listen, I got a friend who has a Frenchie, and he wanted to go hiking right out here in Cali.
Oh hell,
no. So listen, we went to
screaming heat stroke.
We went to this popular trail. I was like, bro, I don't think those dogs are built to do this type of. He was like, oh, he'll be all right, bro. He active. He like to play.
All right. He about to be dead.
Now listen, we went up the hill, bro. Hey, the dog went and laid in the bushes and would not move, bro. He was literally sprawled out.
He was over. He had to take a break.
The dog is not built for that.
Did he make it though? He made it though?
Well, we turned around. We had a bunch of water for him, so we gave him water. Okay. And even on the way down, he would stop and take a break.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, especially for those little ones because they have the short noses. Yeah, they can hardly breathe. You know how many times we see bulldogs come in heat stroke? It's bad because people don't realize because the dog will keep going because they want to please their owner.
Exactly.
And so they're going to go 80-degree weather. They don't care. They're going to push until they collapse.
Man, this dog was close.
He was on the brink.
Oh my goodness! Bro. I said, bro, I don't think this dog is supposed to be breathing like this.
He started checking up on him. Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to ask you too. What do you think about breeds that are like
crossbreed
that are not in their regions, right? So it's a lot.
Like a husky.
Like there's a lot of like Alaskan and Siberian huskies in LA. I'm like, why is there so many huskies? It's 80 degrees. It's 75 degrees here year round.
They ain't good for that.
Yeah.
It's like the number one dog.
People get dogs. Yeah, people get dogs by look. You know, they see the look and they're like, "That's what I want because it's cute. You know, it's nice and fluffy or whatever they love." But you know, what they don't know is that, you know, the lifestyle for that dog and what that dog really craves and needs might be different from what you can offer, right? Because like a Alaskan or a Siberian husky will love to play in some water or some, you know, even some snow. And so if you can't provide that, then, I mean, it's not necessarily like a miserable life, you know, but you just have to be cautious about, you know, with their thick undercoat and stuff, they will overheat really easily, right? They will have a hard time in the heat. And so, you know, I don't love it necessarily, but nowadays they're also widespread, right? You have these dogs in warmer climates, and vice versa. You have these, you know, dogs from the South that, you know, are usually, you know, short coated and like our greyhounds racing dogs, and you have them somewhere up in Michigan in the cold, right? Because people, you know, they go by the breed and kind of what they like, the look that they're going for. That doesn't mean that necessarily you can't provide a good and happy, healthy life for that dog. I think you just have to really, like I said before, educate yourself about the breed and what it really needs to know to not take a dog like that on a hike in the middle of the, you know, of the day. You got to go early in the morning or late at night.
He's about to get locked up in LA messing with the dogs.
So, you know, I think nowadays, you know, maybe hundreds of years ago we could have maybe changed this, but now we're, you know, it's a battle that we're not going to win, right?
Yeah.
Too far
but
gone.
what you can hope for is that, you know, people do their research on what that dog will need and provide that. Because, for example, border collies or all those Australian shepherds, they're high energy dogs. Those are dogs that were trained to have a job. They were trained to herd animals, and they were trained to work all day. If you have them in an apartment 12 hours of the day, they're going to be miserable. And they get anxious. They get really neurotic. You know, they will dig through some drywall in a minute because they're just like, I need to get something done. And what people don't understand is that they're cute dogs. They look great. People love them. But you're going to have a dog that's miserable and that has behavior issues because you're not providing the right environment. They need a job. They need to be out there every day. And people that do it right, you know, they might not have a farm, but they take this dog to agility training every day or at least several times a week. They give them something to do, you know, to get that, because they're super intelligent dogs, but they also need like stimulation. And people just underestimate that sometimes. So I think you can definitely have certain breeds that are out of their normal territory, but you just need to know what it'll take. And a good breeder will definitely help you with that, or even just if you get good resources to really help you kind of dig through what that dog needs.
Gotcha. What are some issues? I know we see this a lot now. What are some issues or some dangers with crossbreeding? Because I know that's a popular thing.
Yeah, especially if it's kind of like a backyard breeding type of thing. Just because, you know, a good breeder will do their homework in a sense of genetically testing their breeding animals, making sure that you don't have anything in the lineage that, you know, is hereditary that would be detrimental to the offspring. And a lot of times, you know, if you have people that just have a dog and they're like, we're just going to breed them just for funsies, you don't have that. So you might have something in that lineage that will make them sick. Also, you don't have the knowledge of, you know, what will it take, one, to have this dog give birth. It's something that we see all the time, especially in those little, you know, Frenchies, bulldogs, you know, that people are like, oh, these are great and they're great money makers. But at the same time, because of the breed, what they are, 90% of the time they need a C-section, and people are not ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
One, because it's costly, but also because they're like, oh, I'm just going to breed a dog and we're going to have a litter. But then, you have a dog on emergency that has dead puppies in it because he did not know what to do. So, the crossbreeding is a problem when you have people that don't have the knowledge doing that. And even if they get the litter, there's so many diseases that puppies can succumb to. So having the knowledge of really, what does puppyhood look like? What do I have to do to keep them healthy? Getting them vetted, making sure that they get their shots and those things, just what you would do for a human child as well. It's kind of the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like the backyard breeding is where my biggest problem comes in, because you just see a lot of genetic nightmares, meaning just health-wise, they're just not healthy. And then they just don't have the adequate care. Now, that's not always the case. I'm not saying every person that bred a dog in their backyard, that's going to be the case, but we see a lot of that. And then some of the crossbreeding, you just sometimes really get bad pairs, because a lot of, breeding, they put a lot of thought into it. So they do a lot of testing on the breeding animals, if they do it right, on temperament and those things, so that you get into your line what you want, right? If you're trying to breed working dogs, or for example, I have a Doberman, if you want Dobermans that are going to be protective, you're going to breed them differently in terms of which animal you choose than if you're just looking for a very temperate, mellow-mannered dog, right? There's a difference there. If you want a dog that's going to be protective and sharp, it's going to be different than the one that's just going to play with the kids in the backyard. Yeah. There's a difference there. And a lot of times you don't do that, right? If you're just backyard breeding, if you're just choosing your neighbor's dog and my dog, then you don't know what temperament you're going to come out with, right?
Which temperament does your dog have?
Oh, he's mellow. He's
mellow. He's chill. Yeah. So you got Snoop Dogg for real then.
If I come home and I want a 3-hour nap, he's right there with me. He's like, let's do it. But he can also be really active. He loves to go on a run and those things. But me and him both have to learn kind of our rhythm as we go, right? But I do try to provide him as much outlet as I can, because he's a big dog, right? And so I want him to have places to run. But also because he's a big dog, he just tires different than, like, let's say a small dog, right?
Yeah.
So
with dogs being like, I'm sure you consider dogs therapeutic, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
And you get dogs because they're great companions. You love them, not companions, but pets.
No, they are.
Friends, whatever you want to call them. People say the man's best friend or woman's best friend. Do you think a lot of that research and going into picking a breed, should that vary depending on like the person's personality, do you think, to like add into the person's life?
Yeah, I think it can only improve that bond, right? So it really just depends on what we're looking for, because there's specifically therapy trained dogs, right? And they will already come from a breeder that is a breed that, and a lot of times it's Goldens and those very well-natured dogs that are very calm. And because if you need a therapy dog for like an autistic child or whatever, you need a dog that's very even leveled and that's not very hype, you know what I mean? But if you're thinking of just a general pet that you want to have as a companion at home, that's still very therapeutic, even if it's not trained as a service animal specifically, right? And I say that just because we do see, in general, research shows that animals in general can help curb anxieties, just increase overall well-being in stressful situations, or finals week on campuses. They have therapy dogs all over the place to help people kind of just calm down, right? Curb their anxiety. Cool. I know my dog was a big part of. If I would have not had him in vet school, I think my experience would have been completely different. Just having a dog, because he forced me to have somewhat of a normal life. He forced me to get out, right? Take a break, because you have somebody that you got to take care of, right? You got to go and have some fresh air at least a few times a day, because he needs to walk. You got other responsibilities. You can't just bear yourself under some books, right? Because there's definitely unhealthy patterns there when you're in school 24/7 and you're focusing on nothing else. having an animal there, while it takes additional effort and money and time, it also provides so much positive, force into your life. For one, because it brings a lot of joy, but also because it brings some balance back into your life. And so I do think that for me, especially, I think it definitely was a big part of why I made it through vet school whole.
That's what's up. Yes, sir.
So why? So like, with all this stuff you got going on, you're very successful. You could be doing a million things. And, one of the things that I kind of like about following you on social media, make sure you follow her, is that even though you have all these things going on, you're still like a voice for the voiceless. Like, you don't have to get on social media and be an advocate for everything that's going on in the world, but you do it all the time. So why do you think it's important, even, when you're successful, even when you don't have to, why do you think it's important to have a voice? Because you clearly do.
I think it's you have to be invested in life, and I just can't imagine to not have interest into what's going on around me, right? So I think just in general, I want to know kind of what's happening, but more so is that I was raised very open-minded in a way, and I think I've said this to Jeremy before, but, growing up in Europe, I always thought America was the melting pot. And then I moved to the States and I was like, I don't think that's right. I think Europe's the melting pot. Because you have so many more different cultures and religions, and I'm not saying everybody's accepted all the time, but you have a lot more acceptance of those things, right? Where I see a lot of that is not actually happening here, which is sad. And so growing up in Europe has really shifted and changed my way of thinking when I think about politics, religion, race, and those things. Because for one, growing up in Germany, that, post World War II, where it's very openly discussed of what went wrong and why we need to educate every generation on that. I find it not just odd, but kind of disturbing that we're doing the exact opposite here. Everything's kind of brushed on the table, everything's hushed up. Don't talk about what happened. Don't even acknowledge what's going on, right? And so, me, I just can't sit there and not say something. And so, I think silence is the worst part, because you are just as guilty if you are silent, because you're basically, if you're silent, you're agreeing.
You're complicit. That's right.
Yeah.
You're complicit. And so for me, it's just. So for me,
hey, bro, see Malcolm X, bro, for real now.
You see that shirt, though? Look at the shirt. I see
it's
it too.
Hold on, let's see the shirt.
Hey, look at the shirt.
Malcolm, because I love Malcolm.
Malcolm, Harriet.
What is the rest of the shirt?
Langston. Who else you got? Myers.
Okay, Frederick.
And Frederick.
Hey.
But it's just, I think for me personally, it's just one of those things where if you don't speak up, you're complacent and compliant. But also, if you want something to change, you need to be part of the change. And my brother was a big part of that, because, me and my brother were really close and we talk about a lot of things. And I remember getting frustrated with certain situations. He was like, well, do something about it. And I was like, that's just such a simple thing to say, but he's absolutely right. Like, you cannot be complaining about something if you're not part of the change. And so, I think one of the things is just you have to be present. You have to say something, and you have to ruffle some feathers. Make some waves. And if people don't like it, that's okay, because you got to be uncomfortable for growth sometimes. So
yes, sir.
And so yeah,
you didn't know. You didn't know you was coming on here to preach, did you?
No, I did not.
Wow.
I did not, but I will definitely be the first one to get on a soapbox sometimes. But you have to, and especially sometimes people don't realize that they're complicit, in what's going on, and ignorance is bliss, and sometimes you do have to just shake people a little bit, and especially when you're in professions where we're very much a minority. It's also important to still stand in your truth, because we need change. We've needed change for a long time.
Talk about that a little bit. That your profession, and what's that like for you? Because maybe it's going to be a young African American girl that want to be a veterinarian. They need to know what they're.
I hope they all become veterinarians. Of course. It's hard from two ways. One, veterinary medicine is one of the widest professions out there still. When I think about Auburn, while I love Auburn, it's still over the last 50 years, and that's only as far as I looked. It probably goes back way further than that. They've always met the quota of at least 1 or 2 minority students a year, but not more. And so while I was at school, and even now, shout out to India and all the other minority students that are at Auburn right now, there's been a lot of push and talk with faculty and staff of like, how can we change that? What do we need to do? I think it's good to raise awareness, but they also just have to change the way they advertise, and kind of their recruitment in general. I was at a roundtable discussion with the president of the university and people, and I just told him, I shouldn't have to be advocating for the school that other people of minorities will feel comfortable here. I shouldn't have to convince them. I shouldn't have to say that. They should know that just by touring the school or talking to people. But I shouldn't have to work that hard to be like, yes, you'll be fine if you come here. And they just don't realize that people don't choose Auburn or some of these other institutions because people are like, I don't feel welcome here. That was a big part. But I think now there's a big push for, more minority students. And, I think they're trying to, the AVMA, which is the American Veterinary Medical Association, has recognized that and has made it part of their mission statement to really make it a diverse and inclusive profession. But I think that's easier said than done. It's not enough to just have a statement out there. You actually have to put in the work, and you have to actually put people in place that can evoke change. You have to make seats at the table, create a new table,
Come on, Tyler Perry.
All right.
Yes, but it's true. It's not enough to just have, somebody on the board just so you can fill that spot and you're like, oh, there's a minority shareholder.
Yeah, she's good.
To have actual change, it's important to have, different people on, like,
diversity.
Something that we mentioned was we need to have people of color on the admission board, people that are interviewing. Like, I need to talk to somebody when I'm coming through my interview process that looks like me, that I can identify with. Like, that's just the case because, while they have some, faculty of color, if you have nobody on the admission board that will advocate for you, that understands where you're coming from, like, that's a big, gap right there. Just making it into the door, right? And I think that's a big part. And what we realized, working with DICE, which is a program through the Auburn Black Graduate and Professional Student Organization, is that there's a lot of applicants. There's a lot of applicants, but not a lot of people that make it to an interview and make it through the door. And why is that? They're qualified. They're absolutely qualified, right? So, is it that they don't accept it because they don't, they tour Auburn and they don't like it, so there's a lot of things that need to be addressed and changed. And while it's, change is slowly happening, I don't think we're just there yet.
Right on.
That was a great answer. Now you told us you weren't ready for this because you ain't used to it.
Too much you nervous.
But you baited us up.
I was like, I don't know, but once you get me talking, I'll get going. But I guess, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, you spoke of a soapbox earlier, so go back and grab that soapbox because we've now gotten to the portion of the round table called "Step Up to the Podium."
Okay.
So what this consists of is I'll ask you a series of questions. Some may be work related, some may not. Who knows?
Okay.
And you have to answer them. You don't get 5 minutes to think about it. You got to answer it right off
I
the
think 5
bat.
minutes before. Okay.
All right. So are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Question number 1. Your favorite part about being a veterinarian?
Saving animals, saving lives. It's very rewarding. Of course, it hurts a lot when you can't. But that is my favorite part, like seeing the outcome.
Okay. Question number 2. If you were to come back in a second life, reincarnated as an animal, which animal would it be and why?
I would be a cat. I think I would be a large cat, like a jaguar or something like that. I don't know why, but I feel like cats are my spirit animal. I love to be lazy in the sun and just sleep, and then I don't know, prowl at night. I guess I don't know.
All right. Okay. Favorite Disney movie that includes animals?
Lion King.
Oh yeah. Now look, I'm gonna tell you, if you didn't say Lion King, though, I was gonna end the interview. It was gonna be over.
I mean, there's no question. Lion King, absolutely.
All right, next question. Guilty pleasure on your off days?
Food.
So, just food in general?
No, okay. I love to cook, and so my favorite thing is on an off day, like I think of a new dish I can cook, or I'm like, I look up a new recipe and I'm like, let's do it. And I buy all the stuff I need and I cook and eat it all.
She part of the family now. She don't eat meat either.
You don't eat meat?
I don't, no.
Oh man, okay. Dr.
She's bougie and meatless. So.
Hey,
you in there. All right. So next question. This might be a tough one now. It's tough. Look, it's tough for me, but I know my answer. Okay. I'm gonna ask it anyway. I was gonna think of something else, but I was like, nah, I'm gonna ask it. Whitney Houston or Beyonce?
Beyonce. Sorry.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong, I love Whitney Houston. I grew up on Whitney Houston, but Beyonce is my generation, and so she's like who definitely inspired me. While I grew up on, my parents listened to Whitney, and I love her. If I have to choose the two, I will. Yeah, it's Beyonce.
Okay, fair enough.
She don't want that beehive to come get her, bro.
Hey, not one.
Hey, David, that trick there.
They will come.
They will come.
All right, last question. This is our favorite question here on the round table.
Okay.
If you could have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, each meal with one person, so that's 3 different people.
Okay.
They can be alive or they could be passed on, but you can bring them back for these meals.
Okay.
Who would those 3 people be and why?
Do you have to choose the meal, or can I just pick 3 people?
Yeah, if you want to.
You know she like to eat.
Yeah.
No, the 3 people that I would pick would be Malcolm X, the Obama.
For
do I
what
have to
meal?
pick one Obama? Or do they count as an entity?
They're a couple.
They
Yeah,
do.
Okay.
Same umbrella.
So I would have, and Beyonce would be my 3rd. Sorry, but I would have breakfast with the Obamas. I would have lunch with Malcolm and dinner with Beyonce. And the reason for those 3 is that, the Obamas are just straight up goals. I mean, from a career standpoint, but also from a private standpoint. Very accomplished, both couples, very accomplished in their careers, but they still are able to have that family life that, you wish you can have despite having those careers. So would love to just pick their brains on how they did it, how they made it, and, little jewels along the way that they learn that they can pass on. I'd like to have a conversation with Malcolm because his autobiography definitely is a driving force for a lot of things that I think of, and just having a one-on-one conversation would be like dream come true, really. And then Beyonce is just one of those icons, like some of the other people that came before her, that you can't pass up on having an in-depth conversation with her. And some of the projects that she's had over the years, like Black is King and Lemonade, like her artistic depth, like alone, it's not even just the vocals and like the hype around her, but really just the artist in and of itself, of how much thought she puts into her artistry and the symbolism behind all of that, and like her going back to her roots and all that, like having a conversation about all those things would be great.
Okay.
You did well. You did well. Proud of you, Doc.
Thank you.
Now you yeah, that was a good answer, especially Beyonce. That was a good one. Because I'm going with Whitney, but you know.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. So we've reached the last part of the EYG Roundtable. And the gem of elevation is a quote. It could be an article, a passage from a book, something that I feel or one of the guys feel is something that our guest can relate to, or it amplifies who they are. So the gem of elevation that I chose this week is a quote that I heard when I was in college. I think somebody told me, and I try to live by it. And that quote is, "A great man shows just how great he is by the way he treats those that cannot return the favor." And when I think of you and what you do every day, and you know how you're giving back to these animals, and you're also pouring into the community with, you know, your thoughts and, you know, your activism, you're doing exactly that. You know, you're pouring into people and, you know, animals that possibly most of the time can't repay you. They can't return the favor, and that's how you show your true greatness. So that's why I chose that quote. So thank you for everything that you do, everything you're continuing to do, and once again, it's a pleasure to have you on the round table. It took us, everybody that's watching, it took us about 6 years to book.
6 years in a day.
Okay, that's not true. That's not true.
Before we
less than half at most.
Ooh.
But look, before we even had a podcast, we had a waiting list, and she was on it.
Yeah.
So
I did not know that though. I did not.
I ain't got anything to say. I didn't say anything. I'm quiet.
Listen, he don't have nothing to say because his schedule like yours. So, you know, he didn't have nothing to say. But I was like, ask her again. He was like, you know, she's busy right now. She's gonna let me know. I was like, ask her again. We gotta have her because you know, I knew you were going to empower a lot of people who watch this episode, but you also empowered us. So thank you for that. Thank you for coming on.
I really appreciate the opportunity, and I'm sorry it took me so long, but
hey, you can't stop great.
But I made it happen though. Like,
you did. It didn't take that long, honestly. It took a month and a half. Yeah, it didn't take that long. We're just giving you a hard time.
Yeah.
Dr.
That's
Beyonce.
okay though. I mean, schedule's pretty full, but I really wanted to do this. So I was like, we're gonna make it happen. So.
Absolutely, we appreciate it. So everybody, this is Dr. Beyonce's Instagram.
Her handle.
So make sure you go follow her.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Malcolm X's granddaughter.
Right.
Hey, I wish. I love my grandparents. I have wonderful grandparents, but being of his lineage, man, that would be
that'd be all right.
Absolutely. The man himself. Anybody got anything else to add before we get out of here?
Great episode. You did great.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So we'll keep you posted.
We need no edits.
Hey, listen, I can't edit none of this greatness out. Sure. So once again, thank you. We'll keep you posted. Whenever we drop this on Facebook and YouTube, we'll send you the link so you know you can tune in and share it as well.
With your people.
And send love to Germany. Your parents are in Germany?
Yeah. They are, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Send
and
love
my siblings.
And your siblings.
Everybody.
Oh, okay. Well, send them our love. And next time you go back, we're going.
I'll send them the link.
Yeah.
We're going with
check
you.
It out. Yeah, he's like,
yeah. All right, y'all have a good one. Representative Gray, take us out.
Yeah. Until next time, stay elevated, my friends. We out.
Hey. I love y'all boys, man. Thank you, Queen.